The next session, this is the niche players in horizontal world. I think I'll introduce and invite our panelists here, and meanwhile I suppose people are going to be joining us. Once again, the session is going to be moderated by Ashish Jalani, the founder of eTailing India, inviting our panelist of the session, Piyush Madan from Vinculum. Once again, he joins us here. May I request you to please, I've already introduced him, so I move on to the next panelist. Inviting Ashutosh Malik from Aram Shop. He's the CEO and Executive Director. Inviting our next panelist, Rajat Tuli. He's owner, happily unmarried. That's interesting. Rajat is a co-founder, Happily Unmarried, a company which is in the business of selling fun. A graduate of MICA, Rajat started his career in advertising, but he left it after 2 years to get involved in something bigger and more exciting. He founded Happily Unmarried with his batchmate Rahul Anand in 2003. More insights, of course, he's going to be extending to us. Inviting Rahul Navrekar, founder, CEO at NDTV Ethnic Retail. Rahul Navrekar joined broadcaster NDTV to set up its e-commerce operation. NDTV earlier shared its plan to enter the e-commerce space through its subsidiary NDTV Worldwide Limited. And Rahul has spent his early part of his career with retail estate companies working in the retail space. And now he is with NDTV since 2013. Inviting Mr. Pawan Gadia from Ferns and Petals, with a total working experience of 27 years, almost 12 years being spent in retail and online e-commerce world. Pawan has created and he has expanded the franchising wing of F&P and founded the online division, and he's been able to make it India's biggest and best flower brand and website. Established the rules of pricing. We had discussion on pricing, so probably he can lend more information on that in the Indian market, especially the online market. He's abreast with the latest technology, SEO and media marketing methods, and has a robust logistics mechanism across the country. Inviting our next panelist, Bhavik Zaveri, founder and MD of Ambab Infotech Private Limited. This is an India-based leading consumer internet and mobility technology company. Bhavik is a serial technopreneur and an emerging market observer, and he has successfully founded and built some of the leading ventures in e-commerce, consumer internet and digital media space across India and global markets. So with all our panelists here, I hand over once again to Ashish for the proceedings of the session.
We have a very, actually very large panel, and we have a little more time than the last panel we had. So what I'm going to do is, because I think we kept the intros a little bit short, is to have everybody again just do a quick 2-minute intro as far as what their background is, what category they're in, and if they can share a little bit as to how they entered their niche category or their niche, they can kind of share that as well as part of the introduction. So we'll start at Piyush, and please go down.
I've already introduced myself, but a quick one. I'm one of the founding members of Vinculum, and we are a company which provides a host of cloud-based solutions like order management, supplier portal, workforce management, and master data management.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashutosh. I'm from Aram Shop. I'm one of the founders of Aram Shop. What Aram Shop is doing is that we are bringing the neighborhood retailer online, the neighborhood Kirana store online. So with an Agarwal store, a Gupta store, or an Aurora store online, we are helping the catchment area of this store order online from him. So he gets orders already by walk-ins that happen to him and the phone orders he gets. So we are in a way providing him the third way of getting his consumers to order from him. From a consumer's perspective, it's a question of how can we help him or her get convenience as well as value from the neighborhood store. And our third stakeholder is the FMCG brands. So from a brand's perspective, what can we help them do beyond the retail counter? They already have great information till the counter, but how do they get into households? How can they inform, educate, reward their consumers is what we're trying to do. So for the three stakeholders, we have different elements, but we have created this hybrid platform, which is a very hyper-local platform called Aram Shop. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rajat, and I am a co-founder of Happily Unmarried. When we started, honestly, we had no idea what we wanted to do. The basic thing was, let's set up a company which will do things for young people. This was based out of our own experiences, because when you would want to gift something to friends or you know, want somebody to talk to, speak your language in terms of market or products, there was nobody there. We were primarily an offline business for a very long time. From 2003 to about 2007, 2008, we were only focusing on creating products and selling them to stores. And as the internet grew and as things started happening, we took the step towards e-commerce. We supply to a lot of stores. We have our own website now. Yeah, that's about us.
I am Rahul Narbekar. I'm happily married, 12 years. I run a small online shop called IndianRoots.com. We sell Indian sensibility products to the global Indian. So our key markets are US, UK, Canada, Australia, all over the world. India we do sell, but it's not a focus area for us.
Hi, I'm Pawan Gadia from Ferns and Petals. We are a flower and gifting brand. We are somewhere around 200 odd outlets spread over today 65 cities across the country. The second is we are again India's biggest online flower and gifting portal. This year we'll be doing something around 10 million US plus of flower gifting. And lastly, we are also into the wedding business of decoration all across the country. So that's all about Ferns and Petals.
Hi, I'm Bhavik Zaveri, and I'm a founder of a company called Ambab Infotech. We primarily are a consumer internet technology company. We empower a lot of e-commerce or non-e-commerce businesses across India and globe. And this has been a very good journey. Obviously, Indian Roots is empowered by us as well. So yeah, we're doing e-commerce for a lot of enterprise entrepreneurs across country.
So one of the reasons why we put a panel together for vertical or niche or category play was that you hear a lot of stories about Flipkarts, the Snapdeals, the Amazons of the world, right? But what about what everybody else, right? Because most of the SMEs, most of the retailers are not going to be horizontal players. They're going to be niche category players. So what we wanted to do was kind of bring a panel that gave you view of different aspects of being a niche or category player. And now I kind of, go back to the panel, kind of asking them as to what advantages does a vertical or a niche player have that a horizontal player may or may not have. So if we can start either with Ashutosh and have his views, and then Rajat and others as well.
Okay. We are in the grocery space. Interestingly, while grocery is a niche space, but it's a very large niche space, and it is one of the last few areas which has not yet had great success to talk of. Tesco in the UK started off has been considered as a relatively successful example of e-commerce because they've been able to combine their stores on the ground with online elements to it. When we looked at naturally horizontal, we didn't with a Flipkart and with other large players already in the game. We were not looking at doing everything that can be done under the sun, and we specifically looked at grocery e-commerce as something which is very interesting, but something which has not really found a space for itself worldwide. Just around the time, for information, when Amazon got funded in the US, in the 90s, a company called Webvan also got funded. The thought was that while we will buy a book once or maybe twice when we're gifting or so on and so forth, grocery is something that we'll buy every month. Yet, grocery web van went belly up after about 2 years, and the primary reasons, which we can discuss as we go along further, were that grocery is very different. The margins in grocery are actually sub 10% for a product that really sells. Milk sells in India at 1% margin. Private labels can get you close to about 20-25% margins, but that makes a small part of the basket of goods. So what really sells for less than 10%. If I have to supply a 1,000 rupee basket, and if I'm going to make only 100 bucks or 150 bucks, then I have to ensure that the Amul butter gets supplied in India's heat and doesn't get melted. The Ashirwad Atta 10 kg pack occupies a certain amount of space, and on the other hand, Pampers, which large pack which will occupy the same space, weighs maybe 1/10 or even less than that. So the complexity of the supply chain and delivering at the last mile costs are humongous in grocery. So if you look at the complexity of the supply chain and the margin structures, we, from an Indian point of view or countries like India, incidentally we have a small play available in Pakistan as well. So we looked at a solution which we thought could work. Here is this neighborhood store, and they got 70-80 lakh of neighborhood stores in India. But let's say we look at the top 1 lakh of them. In the top metros in India, they're already delivering on the phone. To an extent that there are neighborhood stores in a place like Dwarka which make 80% of their business on the phone. So we felt that he is a guy who already delivers. He is a guy already available in the neighborhood. We don't have to solve the delivery problem. It can get better. We don't have to solve the inventory problem. It can also get better. Better information can be there. So we looked at riding on this neighborhood guy, and therefore we created a model which has 3 key stakeholders, as I said earlier: the consumer, the retailer, and the FMCG brand. For the consumer, everything is free. We are looking at convenience and value. For the retailer, the thought is that we provide him an online platform. So his problems are very different. He is looking at a big bazaar and modern retail stores coming into the field and saying that I have got better offers. So he has already started to lose his monthly shopping basket. So he is looking at what he can do, the top tier one. And from a brand's perspective, the opportunity was, as we saw it, great information that can be provided to them beyond the store counter. Who is buying what is getting into a basket, how can we inform, educate, reward the consumer. Simple things like mobile coupons, for example. In India, mobile coupons have not yet taken off. The only thing that really happens is that if you have a prepaid phone number, then you can probably earn some recharge points. But brands are still struggling with how to ensure that my consumer actually gets something at a discount at the store. So we have solutions around that. And when we looked at this space, we looked at what we thought would work, keeping in mind the countries like India. And we moved into Pakistan because there are similar situations there. And there are other markets available where neighborhood stores are still very important.
So I'm also going to talk about a bit of our experience. When you are a small player, there's no point competing over, you'll be the cheapest or you'll be fastest in delivery. So that's very clear that that's not somewhere you can be strong in, because obviously the big guys are much better at it. So our whole idea was, okay, what is it that we can do better than these guys? And we picked up fun as one thing that we are better at. So in terms of what the products we do, the kind of designs we do, the whole business is centered around fun. So we tried to not only make the product fun, we thought, how do we go a step further and make the experience fun? So the kind of letters you get from us, if on order confirmation or if we screw up your orders, we try to make the whole experience very nice and light, with a view that let customers talk about, because not everybody wants the cheapest phone in 2 hours. The other guys were willing to wait, and we've had cases where people have waited for about a week for our products, because we made them, we made it worth their while. So when you are a smaller player competing and you have a niche, so the important thing will be identified and pick up something which you know that you can be better off than the bigger guys. And then go on from strength to strength. And then, you can start small, but there's no stopping you. Even Facebook initially was just it was an in-house Harvard, whatever. And then it became so big. So start small, identify a strong area where you think you're very good and better than other people, and then work hard, yeah.
So I would say the biggest advantage you have is positioning. You stand for something rather than you're being all things to all people. Also, like we are in the high end. I mean, I've sold a stall worth 19 lakhs online, 100% prepaid. We don't do cash. So when I sell a Sabyasachi or it's like a Narwani, you cannot sell it out of a big bazaar. You need to have a certain environment, which is what we are at Indian Roots. So when you have a niche, it gives you a possibility of defense. You know, you can defend against the larger players. You don't need as much money as say a Flipkart or a Snapdeal needs. That's the biggest advantage you get of a niche. You can break through that clutter. People know what you stand for, what to expect. Your margins are much better in a niche. I don't know about grocery, but in our case, the margins are pretty healthy. As Rajat said, people are willing to wait. So I take about 6 to 9 weeks to deliver a Sabyasachi outfit. So I get the money in advance and then I deliver after 6 to 9 weeks. And people are willing to wait because I'm in a niche. If I was just selling Puma t-shirts across, I don't think anybody would have waited that long.
So for us, the case scenario is absolutely different. So we deliver in somewhere around 300 odd cities and towns. And imagine a customer has placed an order for a rose. So somebody has to procure that fresh flower roses every day. We need to have the cellophane ribbon, the greens along to go along with it. Then you have somebody to manufacture or create that bouquet, and somebody else to collect a cake which you have ordered along with it, a helium balloon which needs to be filled with helium, and then all of this going delivered perfect in a condition with not missing out the message card which was attached along with this, and ensuring that that is delivered. So we are into a very, very niche segment. So for a marketplace or a horizontal segment to get into this is pretty difficult, and which is again reaffirmed by the fact that in US, which is a far developed market today, you have 3 large players totaling to somewhere around 2.5 billion of top line, but we don't see an Amazon delivering flowers yet there. So that's why we are niche.
Okay, great, thank you. And now kind of turning on to our two technologists on the panel, Piyush and Bhavik. Can you guys kind of shed some light as to how technology can play a role in providing those advantages or that uniqueness to a niche or a category player?
All right. See, people who are large, who have lots of funds to run their businesses would have definitely advantages. But you as niche player would have a certain advantages which the bigger ones won't have. If Ferrari would have a less ground clearance anyway, no matter what speed they will have. An economy car would have better ground clearances. Of course, it has its own disadvantages. So I think element of personalization which you can bring to your offering is definitely one point, in which you do a lot of custom stuff like stitching a wedding lehenga or doing certain processing which you can offer to your customer itself. Second is, I would say, omni-channel experience, which larger players are not designed to have. For example, one of our customers, Rajat, they are running stores in the airport. You must have seen kiosks for happily unmarried gift shops. They are having this seamless experience. Would a large marketplace would be able to do that? Probably no. So these are drivers for creating your visibility, and of course with the technology, the platform that you choose. I know what are the common problems for small verticals, I would say. They have to deal with different vendors for different type of software platforms. They have to deal with someone who is running their web shop, someone who's doing their order management integration software, someone who's just talking about BI or CRM. There are a lot of small players which have come up in the market, and you are really talking to each one of these to fulfill your requirements. But there are solutions like us which are available, which does across all these areas, and these are available on cloud, so you can actually opt it very quickly with a very relatively low cost.
Bhavik?
So luckily we have been working on both horizontal players and niche players. What we have understood, we're more being on the front end guys, so the experience of the consumer on the horizontal play is an explorer shopping versus experience of a consumer when it comes to the niche player He's a specific shopper. The experience that you build on the site, the experience that you give him right from he logs into your site to checks out. For example, we have a client called thatspersonal.com. He's in personal wellness. He has something called specifically discrete delivery. So right from you come to the site, we never ask you to sign up. Will Flipkart ask you not to sign up? If you check out, you will have to sign up. They allow you to do guest shopping because they do not want anyone around you to know that what you are buying. So similarly for Indian routes, a lot of concierge services, right? There's something called make-to-order facility. Now so you have to build a technology which allows you to give your measurement, and the checkout processes for alteration, measurement are much longer. Now you have to give an experience where consumer is not stopping that form in between for lack of right tools. So I think niche players, for example, Aram Shop, we've been working closely with one another grocery player in the country. They are hyper local. Now you don't know, when an order comes at which guy has what inventory. So integration with last mile inventory, last mile order management systems, if they don't have, providing them, creating sales channels. These guys can themselves now use probably Aram Shop to place orders for products which they don't own, and probably the other vendor in the nearest shop, zone will give. So I think technology integration, experience building, specifics to some certain USPs that you have specific to your businesses can only be handled through right set of technologies and experiences that you build, which probably horizontal player don't need. Horizontal player are clearly high scale, high volume, good servers, largest. So investment is all about scaling business. Here the investment is all about providing that specific experience to the end consumer.
So just to add to that one point, see, the biggest problem that a large player has is, the challenge that they have is, how do you segment your customers? So somebody who's spending say about 8-10 lakhs on a site, unfortunately will get the same experience as the guy who's spending 800 rupees. You have to call the same customer service. There's no differentiation, which is where a niche category player, where technology also helps us. So we know if somebody's about to buy a 8 lakh rupee lehenga from Sabyasachi, I need to treat that customer differently. That is where a niche player has a definitive advantage over, so as Bhavik was mentioning in our case, a lot of made-to-order stuff where we have to take measurements from people, get them or probably on a Skype chat, connect them to our designer to understand customization and all of that, which is a much longer drawn-out process.
Interesting point that Bhavik made, sorry Ashish made, and very rightly so. If I look at the two stakeholders with us, one is the retailers, the neighborhood store and the customer. The Kirana store, interestingly, is he's not really a technology-friendly chap yet. He's not like us who checks mail every now and then on our cell phones. He's not into that space. But he also has started to realize that the technology has a play. So, for example, inventory being one of the key elements. So we have created a cloud-based solution through which this guy can not only run his online store, how it looks on Aram Shop. So every store on Aram Shop gets a space for himself. It's his store, his offers, his inventory. He can get his customers' details there, reach out to them, send emailers, messages, etc. So we have created a cloud-based app which can help him run his store online and also use that to run his store offline. So he can load his inventory, he can create his offers, discounts, combo offers, bill busters. He can start noting his consumers' database. So interestingly, while they may know Mr. Sharma or Mr. Malik or Mr. Tuli, but they don't really go beyond that. So here is an opportunity for them to now know what is being ordered, get to know what is there in my shopping list across those 1,000 households that I serve, and what else can I do with them. Similarly, from a consumer's point of view, interestingly, a neighborhood store is a very interesting animal. You see, we got to know from people who run KBFP, the Kishore Biani Fair Price shops. These are these big bazaars, smaller neighborhood stores. And they were saying that a Kirana store fascinatingly beats them on the ground because he caters to what his customers need. While a KBFP will have standardized inventory because that's what has been decided somewhere, this guy knows that my 1,000 households buy this, and therefore can he create offers for those products? Can he drive consumers starting from there and get them to buy his monthly orders? And similarly, if I were to look at it from a consumer point of view, a mobile app which is specifically focused on the store that I do business with. which gets me the inventory of that store, the offers of that store. And grocery buying, interestingly, is not one-off buying. It is a shopping list buying behavior more often than not. We have this standard shopping list available either on a refrigerator next to the telephone. We are looking at how can that be moving to the ubiquitous cell phone. And if I have a shopping list there, a few clicks and therefore the order goes to my retailer who checks it on his app on a 5,000 rupee Android device and delivers it to the consumer and so on. So there are interesting ways how technology can be leveraged there.
Ashish mentioned a lot of people here are also looking at starting niche businesses. And we've always had this call to take whether should we invest in technology, where should we do, what should we do. And now there are so many options available where you can just focus on your core business and let somebody else handle the technology part or the part that you're not comfortable with. Because initially when you're starting out, the money is limited. You need to focus on what you're very good at and let somebody else handle. So like we were very bad in technology. And it takes a time to realize that setting up a website is the easiest of the parts. What happens after that is what is the tough part, linking it with inventory or managing customer returns or people complaining. How do you handle that? So use technology, and it sort of is an enabler. And now there are very good options available, like Vinculum. So they're very, sorry for plugging it, but they're very good in the sense that we had no clue how to manage all these things, and it was a very big learning. So I would say that you focus on what you're very good at and let the technology be handled by people whose it's a business, and then when you become a certain size, then start getting experts to manage it for you. And then get in the in-house, sorry.
Well, for us, technology has been a pain point since 2007. So we have had a couple of vendors we have changed. So even today, the satisfaction is still not there and the hunt is on. Finally, we have decided that we'll go in-house. Or with all due respect, I think I'll do it myself this time. Having said for technology, I think technology plays a very important role for us. For example, the biggest pain point for us today is that we show a beautiful bouquet. So that was till 2007. We used to show a beautifully photoshopped bouquet made in an air-conditioned room and with all the ingredients possible. It's like you're seeing your wife on the wedding day and then you see after a month. So what used to get delivered was very different from what we show on the site. So how to tackle this? So now we are in the process of introducing an app wherein we are telling the flower shops and a video along with it, wherein he sees that when you are making these roses, the cellophane has to be below the rose or it has to be above the rose, and for that matter taking a picture of that product before he's going to the customer. And when the delivery boy is on the way to deliver that flowers, we are able to see the guy on the GPS track. So is the customer able to watch him? Once he delivers the flower, he will ask the customer to sign on the phone, accept the quality or reject on the phone, take a picture of the product along with your recipient, and then all this gets updated real time to the sender. So these are little things, or for that matter, we cannot deliver lilies in Panipat, or for that matter in Coimbatore. So the technology has to support we don't show these products on those cities and so on. So I just give you a very small example as far as technology goes. I think without that, we are nowhere. We can't exist.
Great. We started touching upon some of the challenges as well. I think the group kind of started touching. I'll start with Ashutosh. And, very contrary to what Rahul mentioned, the margins at your category are very different compared to what he's talking about. So how does a niche category player, deal with this kinds of issues when they're in a lower margin kind of a business?
So as I explained earlier, the grocery business is a very low margin business. And interestingly, when we started to look at this space, at least that's the driving factor for us. We looked, as I explained earlier, logistics and the complexity of supply chain is one, and the margins being what they are. We thought that these are two problems which are not really something that we need to solve. So a neighborhood store is a place where a P&G, HUL, Marico, Godrej is already ensuring that their product is available. So interestingly, I should mention it, we don't supply anything related to non-packaged goods. So to that extent, we are not solving the problem of, say, vegetable supply delivery. That's not our game. We are looking at packaged goods, consumer packaged goods, FMCG goods, and therefore that is a product which is standardized, already caters to certain standards that are being defined, and therefore that is not something we were worried about. That's one. It is already there at the store. So second was that this store, the other element which is the delivery part, and we felt that, and I'll give you an example of HUL. HUL is of course the largest FMCG player in India. In the last decade, they did this project called Sangam in Bombay, where they looked at catering to phone orders and delivering them through their warehouses. And HUL is a very strong player, very strong logistics, etc. And they felt that they could do a great job. They started this as a profit center within HUL, and soon enough, so early, they naturally wanted to sell only HUL products, and they realized soon enough that people don't buy just HUL products. It will be a PNG, Marico, rice, atta, dal, etc., etc. So incidentally, on our site, rice, atta, dal category is the largest selling, because that's what ready to households, right? So Sangam started to sell everything, and soon enough, I think it took them about 5-6 years, so I can't say it soon enough, but they declared it a success and sold it off to the Vadhavan group, who haven't resurrected it. The people who ran Sangam were saying that the largest cost item, or the key problem for them to solve, was the number of orders they needed for it to make sense from the last mile delivery cost. Which meant that if last mile delivery is the largest cost, and if I look back at an example like Webvan in the US, with a more programmed society, probably better road conditions, Webvan started to face humongous issues in terms of delivery. They would, if 10 deliveries have to be made and at two houses they don't find people there, they weren't sure, do they stay back, do they move ahead and come back, which means that the cost of delivery increases. So towards the end of their life, they actually started to put refrigerators in the garages so that they could dump stuff there and move ahead. We felt that if a neighborhood store is there, he's already delivering, and that can be made better. So I'm sure all of us have had experiences where he says ki 15 minutes mein aa raha hu, and he comes back in an hour. So that naturally is still to be solved. There is a problem with inventory. If you don't have inventory, then how do we ensure that what you ordered is available there? So that is something that we're trying to solve through the cloud-based app. So the problems being what they were, we thought that if we have to look at creating this model, then we need to leverage people who are solving those two problems. So what is the pain that I am relieving for the customer? I am providing the customer the convenience to be able to order online and get it delivered when she reaches home. She could order it from her home, from her office during lunch hour, and most of our deliveries are post 7 p.m. That is the convenience element. Then the other is offers. So I'll give you another example. Mother Dairy has these Safal outlets in Delhi, and before the TRI regulations came about SMSs, they actually started to take phone numbers of their neighborhoods and send SMSs in the evening for the price next day of the vegetable that will be sold. And I remember my wife, she used to buy from a Big Apple, when one day they told her that, we won't deliver, you have to come to the store. And it was in Mahipalpur, we stay in Vasant Kunj, and he said, yeah, wahan pe to I won't be able to find a parking. And just around the same time, we started to receive SMSs about the Mother Dairy prices. And because now the information was available into the household about what is happening in the neighborhood store, she actually realized that she wasn't getting too big an advantage from Big Apple. And if she has to go and buy and lug it up the house, then might as well buy it from Mother Dairy, which is next door. And if I look at a neighborhood store is already delivering, then that is the problem that we are solving from a customer's point of view. If I look at it the store's from point of view, then he doesn't have the bandwidth to have an e-commerce strategy. Therefore, we come into play. And when I look at it from an FMCG player's point of view, they are said that 90% of India's sale FMCG is still through the store. But they don't know who is buying what. And that is the problem we are solving for them.
Question for Rajat, and then actually other panelists as well. So one of the issues that a niche category player thinks of, and I did as well when we were starting. So what happens is you're very concentrated. You all mentioned there's personalization, there's a customer experience you can provide. But then what happens to scale, right? How do you scale? Because yes, you can do all of that. You already targeted the market. But how do you achieve that scale that you need?
I think it in a niche category, the scaling doesn't happen as fast as say the bigger players. But and you start doing smaller things and you do them better. For us, the call was to open more stores or move to online, and we discovered that online was the margins were healthier and you could reach out to more people faster. So it was sort of a strategy or a decision we took, and we started directing our energies towards online. And the other thing is, since you identified the customer, you know that he's buying, you look at what else can you give him that makes his, so that the same guy is giving you more business. We also see that a lot. And once I know that this guy has bought from me once, we try to ask him to say what else can we sell him, find out your usual anniversaries, birthdays, or things that he can suggest to his friends. And maybe do that more. And like everybody here is saying again and again, that once you're online, and because you are able to reach out to a far more number of people than say through traditional retail, it's a fantastic option to help you grow faster.
Great, thanks. Rahul?
So in our case, we are lucky because the lady can never have enough clothes, right? So when they buy and they keep buying. And then if they see something new and then say, wow, and then, so for us, that scale has not been a challenge so far. In made to order as a category, the lead time is slightly longer, but then the ticket size is also very high. And what we have also realized is the same lady will pick up a 3.5 lakh rupee lehenga, but then she'll also pick up a 1200 rupee kurti from Kilol. And then she'll probably buy 4 of those from Kilol. So for us, it's about capturing the right audience. And since we are looking at outside India audiences, it's dollar pricing. Scale has not been a challenge.
Great. Pawan?
So you forgot to mention that you have a couple of channels wherein there is a ticker going along NDTV by ethnic routes.
But I'll tell you honestly, if you ask me from an ROI perspective, I think having a great visual on the site has given us much better ROI.
Yeah, but then it constantly reminds you every day, every evening.
So we harass you till you buy.
Yeah. So for us, I think I'll agree with Rajat what he mentioned, that the retail flower shops, because we are present in 65 cities, 200 odd outlets, they act as a great branding opportunity for us, and people know and trust if you order a flower here, it will be delivered nicely, and if not, at least we have a support center to sort out the issue. Beyond this, when we started in 2002, and we introduced something called a same-day delivery in 2002. So here these days we hear people, Flipkart, saying that we have started same day. We have been doing that since 2002. Or for that matter, a midnight delivery dot at 12 in the night. So it's a matter of how are you present more? So from 2002 to 2007, I remember 80% or 70% of our sales used to come from marketplaces like India Times. I don't know if you guys remember sifimall.com or Rediff. So those guys gave us a lot of sales. And at that point of time, we used to sell in the brand name of Ferns and Petals. And slowly the shift has happened that today that entire marketplace's sales for us today is hardly less than 10%. And 80% of all the sales today are coming in from our own website. So being present as much as possible, piggybacking on any kind of loyalty program, redemptions, or for that matter tying up with wherever across the world order flowers are flowing from abroad to India, or any possible way in which you can be present to make your brand known with zero marketing cost was the key, and God has been kind to us.
Coming back to our two technologists again, I'm sorry I keep on calling you technologists, but how does technology play a role in, let's say, a lower margin business? Where do you see technology playing a role to kind of save them those extra expenses or the extra costs so that they can survive and continue to work in that low environment?
Okay, I'll take this. See, you are as good as your technology is. E-commerce business is technology-led business. And no matter how niche you are, you don't want to really compromise on the scale that you want to achieve. It's very, everyone has touched upon personalization aspect. Everyone has agreed that if you are niche, then you have to be specific to the customer need, and you have to be very cognizant of the fact that you are offering something very special to the customer, which is to that customer only. Now, it is very important. There are a lot of technology options which are available in market today, which offer you to do online business. You have order fulfillment softwares. You have probably CRM softwares. But very, very less companies. I'm actually in touch with a lot of entrepreneurs and companies in India, specifically in Asia Pacific also. We are also doing business in Philippines, Malaysia, and the challenges are same. You should invest in a proper BI. It's not very expensive. You definitely have to understand what is going on in your business, not just from customer point of view. I'm sure a lot of you would be using Google Analytics, but that only gives you a web aspect or a customer aspect. So what happens to your supply chain? What happens to your finance? What is the margin analysis? What is the supplier performance? So no one actually, very few companies like Flipkart have muscles to set up their own analytics units of probably hundreds of people, which are really doing that work for them. But for you, there are solutions which are there in market, which specifically addresses this need at very, very relatively low cost, I would say.
So Ashish, probably so for me it's simple. Niche is a niche till you disrupt. Groupon was a niche, Fab.com was a niche, Snapdeal was a niche, Myntra started with custom products, Flipkart started with books. So it's a starting point for me. Technology is an enabler, but you have to go out and identify your right customers. When we were selling coupons in Deals and You, we thought we are the niche player selling coupons across. Then we scaled to selling products. Today, if you see Snapdeal, coupons, then, so if you are capturing right set of product, as he rightly said, right set of information, business intelligence that is built on the back, you slowly scale. So niche is a starting point. Everyone has to create a clean positioning. So positioning is enabled through niche. Technology should be neat enough to help you reposition yourself and disrupt at every single stage of your growth. So scaling challenges are only handled if you have right set of technologies. So if you are understanding your business, you are understanding your customer, you are giving right experiences, they're coming back to you again, you're no more niche.
Cool, great. One of the other questions that I face all the time when talking to niche or category players is, and somebody brought it up, and I didn't originally have it as something I wanted to ask, but now it's going to come up. How do you kind of combine both the niche and the horizontal play, right? So one is obviously that you sell on other marketplaces, but just kind of getting quickly a view as to what you guys think, what niche players should be, or what do you recommend a niche player or a category player should be doing with the horizontal guys like a Flipkart or an Amazon or etc. If whoever wants.
No, if you look at big horizontal players, they're almost like a huge mall where they have little sections where things are selling right now. So right now everybody is coming to them because of the sheer innovativeness of the mall. It's a wonderful place. Sab kuch mil raha hai, so let me go there. As things move forward, people would want to come to that mall because it has X, Y, Z brand. Like people who want to buy Motorola are going to Flipkart because they know it's available there. And it's only available there. So as things move forward, and if you're a strong niche brand, these guys might come and ask you to set up a shop inside their big shopping space. So that would be one way to do it. And then you are coming with your own set of your customers or fan following, and you are using the backbone of say a Flipkart or Amazon to improve your delivery services or your customer care kind of thing. So I would think that should be the best way to work with these guys. Going to them and saying that I'm discount my products may not work. It may work in the short term, but it's not a long-term strategy. You need to be very strong as a niche brand, and then maybe approach those guys.
It also depends on who you are. So when we started Indian Roots, we had a couple of all those large marketplaces, including Amazon, coming to us and saying, why don't you list as a shop on our site? We'll give you immediate numbers. But honestly, I don't see myself selling a Sabyasachi next to an electric tool or a vacuum cleaner. You know, it destroys my positioning. So for us, it doesn't make sense to go with any of those horizontal guys. I'm very happy having, and my biggest beef is that, you know, the perception that niche means small. That's not true. Niche is something, I start with a certain positioning, as Bhavik said, and then I can look at disrupting, reinventing, pivoting myself, and then scaling.
Pavan or Ashutosh?
I just have one bit to add. I think Dharmender Mehta from Flipkart very broadly covered the entire aspects as to how one can engage. So apart from selling in the marketplace, as Rajat also mentioned, that using their various other services, fulfillment centers, the payment options, the plethora of services which they offer is obviously the way go forward. And also how different you are. How can you position yourself as this is my difference compared to the rest of the guys selling the same stuff. I think that's about it.
Naturally our I think both Rahul and Pavan have made this point that niche is a niche till it grows, and I think Bhavik also mentioned that. So grocery is a large space, but interestingly, if I were to look at a horizontal player, then to that extent, if you notice on a Flipkart or a similar such why that has happened is because the supply chain of those products is easier. You can still courier a shampoo, but you will not be able to courier 10 kg of atta. So to that, however, there is another thing that has come up, which is if you look at an FMCG player, then a Saffola has a site called SaffolaLife.com, where they're trying to get people to come there and check their heartage and check out their products. And an Aram shop becomes the last mile connect for them. So for example, a consumer comes on SaffolaLife.com and she sees Saffola Total and also looks at muesli, and she clicks a few buttons and wants to bag those or buy those. That's when our Aram shop becomes interesting for Saffola, because we become the last mile for the consumer to get connected to a store from which he can get it delivered. So lots of FMCG players are looking at it from that perspective, where their standalone sites are now getting a last mile connect and a call to action to be possible. So maybe that's one direction that is emerging for us, but a horizontal player probably doesn't solve that problem for us.
One of the main things I got out of the last conversation and want to share again with everyone is, like they mentioned, niche or category does not mean small, right? This is just a recognition of which customers you want to go after, what products you want to carry and all that. And it doesn't mean that it's something small that can or cannot get large. So anyway, I think that was a good point by the panel. We want to keep 15 minutes for questions, but before we go to question and answer, want to go to everybody in the panel and have them share a few things that they would recommend that a niche or a category player should or should not be doing. Maybe more just on a recommendation end, not particularly advisory or something, but if they can just kind of recommend from their experiences and what they've seen, what a niche player should be doing or should not be doing. And then we'll start with Piyush and kind of go to
Keeping it quite short since we have very less time left, but my viewpoint from technology or from my experience point of view, that do not make short-term goals while deciding your software platform. You have very short time to establish yourself in the market. If you're not doing it right for the first time, you will not get many chances. Once the brand name is spoiled, it is spoiled. So if there are funding challenges, I mean, there are ways where you can configure today in current situation, but since the competition is too much, you should look at a platform which will take you ahead for many years. I mean, take it from order management, CRM, BI, everything perspective, putting in one perspective. This is my view. I'll pass it for the business view.
So I'm not sure whether I can give you any advice on this aspect, but I think any solution has to be solving a pain, right? And naturally one would look at what are the constraints that one can solve. We are still very early in our journey as an organization, but if I have to look at Aram Shop, we are trying to solve constraints from three key stakeholders' perspectives. So my customer, can I provide convenience and value from my store? Can I help him grow up? Can I help him solve the problem that he's facing, the competition he's facing? And from the brand partner's perspective, can I help them get into households? Can I help them educate, inform, reward their consumers? So as the model has evolved, and we have learned it all the way. So when we started off about 2.5, 3 years ago, we had some things in mind, and as we grew, I think that's the way the business evolves. We have come up with some interesting elements for all the three stakeholders. And we have kept on looking at, is there a constraint we are solving or not? Is there a constraint that we can take care of? If we are not, then we don't get into that direction. I think if I were to look at it from a startup point of view, then opportunities can be galore, and yet we need to stay focused on some of the key things. If we start focusing in our energy on multiple directions, then I think that also, that's where we lose our way.
I would just say don't compete on price. It's damn difficult to survive if you're going to just be the cheapest in the market. And the other thing is that, it's very tempting, like for us, we started offering cash on delivery on our site. It was very tempting, the orders are going up, but then we realized that, the rejections are higher, the returns are more, so fine, and money gets up. So we took a decision and we stopped doing cash on delivery. We realized, we knew that it's going to reduce our, the sales will come down, the people will complain. But we held on to that, and finally the sales sort of got up, but it was a decision because we could not afford to lose money. And small players can't, waste money. So that's it.
Unlike Ashutosh, we don't solve any problem. Most husbands say we create problems for them by showcasing all these lovely products. Recommendation, I would say, honestly, it's more of a learning that we have realized is stay true to your positioning. So if you are taking a niche and you're taking a position, then don't get distracted, don't try and do too many things. Stick to your core, scale it, and then probably you can pivot.
To add what Rahul has said, I heard somebody saying from the panel on the back end when we were discussing that Snapdeal started with deals, and for that matter Flipkart started with books. So stay focused on what you are doing. There are a lot of naysayers going to be, but then solutions and the way forward will evolve out of your journey. So there's no other rocket science here.
I think primarily what niche players should do is choose your customer segment well, because when we say niche, we are saying we are only solving certain people's problem. So invest in acquisition strategy for certain customer, and what they should not do is ensure that you are not risking your customer delight at any point. I'm not even saying spoil customer experience. Spoil is not even a chance to you. You don't even risk your customer delight how much low your margins you have. You are acquiring right customer, and these are niche customers. Either he's a design lover, or he's probably a personal care product lover, or he's a coupon lover, whatever. But he's coming to you because he likes something about you. Do not risk his experience.
Okay, great. We have about 13 minutes left, so what we're going to do is try to do Q&A. So if you can raise your hand, we can have somebody bring you the mic, and you can ask questions. If not, we'll end the panel sooner. Right here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Anant. This question is for Mr. Pawan. You being into the retail, brick and mortar stores, and into franchising also, and what I heard was about 70% of your business is coming from your online store right now. 40%. I heard, my bad. The question I'd like to ask is, how do you differentiate the inventories of the online and the offline, keeping in mind the benefits of a franchise? Because he's an investor. He would not want his investment to go haywire because somebody on online may have been given a little higher discount. Is there some kind of a mechanism that you work it on?
So the inventory of a franchisee, we are aware of the fact as to what kind of inventory does he carry.
Right.
So a store in Gurgaon or Delhi will carry all kind of Oriental lilies, Asiatic lilies, whereas a store in Imphal or in Panipat might carry just a couple of colors of roses and glads. So we have a visibility and a knowledge towards that since they are franchisees, and also to the seasonal availability of the various flowers which can be procured. According to that, we map that particular pin code and show the customer only these kind of flowers or product which are available for that particular city.
That means a franchisee in a place called Jorhat.
I'm sorry?
A franchisee in a place called Jorhat in Northeast, if there's a store up there, for example, now the customers around that area will be shown the inventory of that store only, or?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Back there.
Hello, I'm Ilamurugu. My question is to the entire panel. Say if I am a manufacturer of garments, I'm planning to launch my own brand and into the e-commerce. Should I go for my own website or should I go for the marketplace model?
How much money do you have? If you have money to buy Google AdWords, spend on marketing, the biggest cost for us is customer acquisition, right? So if you have the money to go and acquire customers and sustain, do your own site. Otherwise, the easier way to start is to build a great product, build a brand, go on all the sites, let them create the brand for you. And then when you have the money, then you create your own site.
I would add that you should do both. So the volume, otherwise if you have to create a parallel brand. In 2002 when we started, we had a Ferns, FERNSNPETALS.com. So fernsnpetals.com, but we started in 2002. Somewhere 5 years down later, the entire shift from 80-20 we came to 20-80. So start parallelly, you'll have the volumes coming in from the marketplaces, but have your website, so you learn all along what all do you need to do to improve and the margins of course are much higher than the marketplaces.
How do I ensure that there is a visibility for my brand in the marketplace model?
Depends on the marketplace, depends on what product you have. So if I'm a marketplace, if your brand is selling a lot, or if you have got a product where I have not too many offerings, I would promote you. But honestly, it comes down to the fact that as a marketplace, I want to sell more, do more top line and make good margins. So either you ensure me enough top line, or you say I'm giving you such a fantastic margin that I would want to promote you, because then I'm making more money.
Thank you.
I'll try to address that from technology point of view. Probably this question was more relevant for our earlier panel where ShopClues could have answered that, which is running a marketplace. But to make sure yourself more visible on marketplaces, you need to tie your product descriptions right. What keywords you would be targeting when someone is searching you. So relevance of search and how search engine works for each marketplace really defines how your conversion rates would be.
Thank you.
Hello everybody. My question is to Mr. Malik. How would you specially deal with perishable products, with returns, with damages? Who takes the responsibility? Do the FMCG clients support you with it? And how?
So as I explained earlier, we are only into packaged goods. So to that extent, milk, mother dairy milk has a certain life that is associated with it, and we are dealing with this. So our partner on the ground is this neighborhood retailer. He survives because of those 1,000 households. He is an entrepreneur himself. He is not an unknown entity for the neighborhood, and he is somebody whom they do business with already. So irrespective of what happens online, he can't even survive offline if he plays hooky or if there is an issue with the product and so on. So we have had cases of organizations trying to do sampling with us, and when at times does happen that the sample probably is very close to the date when it might expire, the retailer refuses to take it because he knows that if he were to send a sample of a product into the neighborhood where he is there, he has been there before Aram Shop existed. He probably owns that shop. It's the second or third generation which is running it. So from a, if I were to say from a larger systemic perspective, we are not facing those issues because there are more, the retailer himself is very concerned, the brands are concerned that they also replace goods, by the way, at the store if the store is not able to sell those. So we haven't really faced this issue. If we would have been into something which is less controllable, for example, vegetables, where Azadpur Mandi says material has to be brought in and cut and then packed, etc., then our controls would have had to be very strong because there is no other entity which is providing any systems, processes and so on. So here it's slightly different. Have I?
We have one question up in the front here.
My question is to Mr. Malik. I'm an entrepreneur from Bihar, working from the last 10 years in a niche product called Makhana. I'm the only industry in India working with this product from the last 10 years with more than 10,000 farmers. And 90% of the Makhana going throughout India and abroad is from our company. We want to come forward from back end to front end. And we want your suggestion how to integrate our front-end products because we are coming with a brand. We want to come into the e-commerce business and how through e-commerce business we can integrate all the e-commerce portals available in India, top from Amazon to your company. So we need suggestion on that front.
Makhana is what you said, right? Yeah. Okay. So I can answer for us particularly. Since we are a player who works with the stores on the ground, incidentally, we are not a player where esoteric or less easily available products can be sold. Because we don't have create our own supply chain. We don't buy from the suppliers and then supply it. So from that perspective, if somebody like you is approaching us, then we may probably not be able to solve the problem for you because even if your product was displayed with us on Aram Shop, if it is not available, if your brand is not available with the stores, then the delivery won't happen. However, we are starting to look at a solution where since we have retail partners with us, can we help brands reach those retail partners from positioning of the product? That's still in early days, but there might be some opportunities there for us to be able to help a niche player ensure that I am available in top 5,000 stores in Delhi. So there could be opportunities there that probably I can suggest to you maybe we can talk about it later. But if it were to be placed online as of now, then it won't solve because the supply won't happen. I'm not sure how maybe Amazon or Flipkart would look at that. They'll naturally have to buy. So you'll have to sell them at a significant discount for them to take it and then of course they'll rebrand it or it will be your brand.
My suggestion would be Makhana I think is a great food if you're trying to lose weight, right? It's a great snack. So brand it as a product, sell it as a guilt-free snack for Weight Watchers, and that's a problem a lot of Indians are having nowadays, myself included. So put it as a brand and then start putting it on all the channels. You'll have better margins and you'll have much more money that way.
Hello. My name is Abhinandan and my question is with Pawan. I ran a gifting portal and I approached your team for tying up for flowers so that I can take orders and send it over to you, but it was very hard to do and nobody responded. So are you looking at partner sites like us who can sell your flowers and cakes which we can't do? But we can take orders because I run a gifting portal, so people basically want those things to be added as a combo. But the response was not good from your team. So basically I want to know whether you are interested in tying up with partners like us or not.
Can we take this one offline? This doesn't apply for the rest of the audience. So let's take that offline. You can actually have a direct conversation with Pawan and we can take that offline.
But I love your pants. Very nice color.
Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Jasdeep Dawar. I have been running a bricks and mortar electrical wholesale business here in Delhi, a Bijli ki dukaan. And I think around 5-6 months ago we have taken it online. And just from footprint in Delhi NCR, we're getting orders across all hooks and nooks of India. We're getting fantastic customer reviews, but problem is essentially hit rates or visibility is low. So you've discussed customer acquisition, marketing. So I just wanted some sort of optimized answer how we could enhance our website visibility. We are more, visible to the people in terms of the products we offer.
Well, I think IndiaMart, I'm sure it must be an obvious option for you. Tolexo is coming up, so that's the next choice for you. And I'm sure there is Amazon Direct, which might get launched in a while. So independent of marketplaces, again, as Rahul asked the question to the other gentleman, how much money do you have?
So I precisely wanted, you mentioned Google Ad. See, what happens with entrepreneurs like us, we may not be very tech savvy. So a word BI, business intelligence, got used, and you said optimized Google AdWords. Oh, an average person may not have that sort of intellect and caliber to incorporate that in his website. I'll take example. There's so many stands standing. So everyone's selling very specific solution. No one's come up, we have an optimized all-in-one solution available to an entrepreneur that we can, one shot you can go ahead and start promoting your website, generating business. So that I feel there seems to be some gap.
So I hear your pain. I've gone through the same thing. Meet me offline. I can offer you a couple of options. Okay, these are the guys whom you can go to, who can give you a very optimized, and those are proven in terms of their track record of doing what you ask.
Entrepreneurship and optimized solutions don't go in the same frame.
Also you'll have to look at some point, it's not about just bought media, right? You have to look at something called education. So, you have to build a content strategy as well. So when you say there are products which are so niche that somebody at the other end don't understand if I really need that product. So content marketing is picking up very good. Digital PR is something which is really hugely used across the globe. Very, very clearly, if you want to sell a food item, please sell recipe first. I think build a content strategy, get good writers, bloggers, and I'm sure people will come to you.
May I ask a question? Who is your customer? Is it the household? Yeah.
Wholesale business, but still the sales all outside Delhi across are to generally from the sales I can understand they are all going to the consumers. It's essentially simply put, we put bulbs, LEDs, MCBs, switch, fans, appliances, plug tops, everything's available to buy online. And people said major sales are coming from tier 2 and tier 3 places, and South India is #1 destination for us.
Maybe we can have some discussions outside.
Sure.
We're going to take one last question. I think someone in the back had already,
This question is for Ashutosh. Just wanted to understand, your model for your organization is similar to Instacart in US? And what kind of margins do you have?
Instacart is where you order and then you can pick up later?
No. Actually, they also have a similar model where actually you can pick order from them online, and it gets delivered from the nearest mom and pop store.
Okay. So, for us, from a consumer's perspective, everything is free. As in, we don't charge anything from the consumer naturally. So our revenue model is built on the services we are providing to the brands and the retailers. From the retailer's perspective, we are in a way creating a subscription model. So retailer gets the store online for free. He can create a store online. He gets the cloud-based app solution for him for free. Where we are coming from his perspective is that we can help him market himself to his community, and that's where we'll start making money out of him. We are not making any money on the transaction, interestingly. There are opportunities there, but we haven't gone in that direction yet. There are retailers who are saying, for example, that I want to be the top retailer in Indrapuram in Ghaziabad, and I am willing to pay a certain amount of money. That is there, but we aren't yet started to do that. currently our largest buyer revenue is actually from brands. So as I was trying to explain, brands are facing interesting issues, particularly in a market like India where 90% of the sales are through retailers, kirana stores. So if you look at the US, I'll just take about 10-15 seconds. US moved modern store about 20-30 years ago. Therefore, if you look at communicating or advertising to the consumer, there are two possibilities. One is below the line marketing and one is ATL, above the line. And US below the line is twice ATL because there is an aisle and there is a checkout counter available in that store to influence the consumer. What P&G used to calls as the first moment of truth to influence the consumer. In India, on the other hand, modern retail still makes up less than 10% of the total sales, and even the largest player accounts for maybe for a P&G just 1% of the sales. But a kirana store, interestingly, doesn't provide the same checkout counter and the aisle to influence the consumer. So in a way, what we are trying to do is help the brands get into households, influence the households, inform, educate, reward, and so on. So that is where our revenues are coming from.
Okay, thank you again, panel. And all other questions, please the panel will be off the stage in a few seconds, and then you can connect with them directly.